Picture this. You open your retirement accounts and you see $1.5 million across your 401ks, your IRAs, and other savings accounts. That's the moment millions of savers have dreamt about. But how many Americans have actually crossed that seven-figure plus finish line? Well, today we'll pull fresh 2024 data. We'll crunch some numbers behind the elusive $1.5 million club, and we'll lay out the habits that separate them out from everyone else. Stick around to learn how big this club really is, who's inside of it, and the gap between the aspirations and reality. And we'll also cover concrete steps you can start this week to raise your own odds of joining. So why does the $1.5 million marker matter? Well, financial planners call this level a comfort threshold, because with a 4% sustainable draw, it can fund about $60,000 per year before taxes. That's enough to replace roughly the median U.S. household income after Social Security for a 30-year retirement. But longevity keeps rising and healthcare inflation keeps running hotter than core CPI. And market downturns arrive without warning. That's why surveys now gravitate to figures around $1.4 to $1.6 million when Americans are asked what they'll need to retire comfortably. Just how big is this $1.5 million club? Well, according to Fidelity's Q4 of 2024 data, 401k millionaires make up 537,000 accounts. That's up 27% year over year. IRA millionaires make up 344,000 accounts. That's up 8%. That's 881,000 millionaire level retirement accounts inside Fidelity alone. Are all of these accounts over 1.5 million? No, but we can get close. So Fidelity notes that the median balance among all 401k millionaires is nearly $1.6 million. By definition, half of those accounts sit at or above that level. If we do the rough math, half of 537,000 is 268,000. That's 401k accounts that are greater than $1.6 million. Fidelity hasn't published a separate median for IRA millionaires, but it does disclose that the average IRA millionaire balance is about 1.8 million. In a right-skewed distribution, a reasonable midpoint is 1.65 million, implying about 170,000 IRA accounts are over $1.5 million. If you add them together, we're looking at approximately 440,000 retirement accounts that already clear the $1.5 million benchmark inside of just Fidelity alone. Fidelity manages approximately 24 million workplace savers, people like you and me that put money into their retirement accounts. Nationwide, there are approximately 67 million active 401k participants and 58 million funded IRAs. Scaling conservatively, researchers at Boston College Center for Retirement Research estimate that roughly 0.8 to 1% of U.S. households, which is approximately 1 to 1.2 million people, control $1.5 million or more strictly within tax-advantaged retirement accounts. That's as of early 2025 data. While no database combines every custodian together, multiple academic panels put the figure in the low single-digit percentages, aligning with the Fidelity-driven estimate. So who is it that has $1.5 million in their retirement accounts? Well, the baby boomers still dominate this club, but Gen X is sprinting up close behind. Fidelity's group of 15-year continuous savers in Gen X averaged $589,400 at year-end of 2024. That's an 18% jump in just 12 months, illustrating the compounding runway that they still have. So the typical 401k millionaire has been saving for about 30 years. Contributes about 15% or more of their pay, including any employer match, and they resist any panic selling during bear markets. When you look at the contribution habits of this $1.5 million club, the participants, when they combine employee and employer savings rate, it's about 14.1% in 2024. That's only 1 point shy of Fidelity's golden standard 15% rule that most millionaires follow. So the account structure is set up like this. Roughly 2% of 401k savers and 2.5% of IRA owners are millionaires. Among them, about 1/3 use a Roth account to hedge any future tax risk. and about 8 in 10 or 80% benefit from some form of employer contribution. So what does the asset mix look like in these accounts? Well, the average 401k millionaire holds about 70% equities, 25% bonds or cash, and about 5% in alternative investments. Passive target date funds and S&P 500 index funds are the two largest single holdings. While 1 million plus Americans may already have this $1.5 million in savings, tens of millions of more want to be there. The 2024 Retirement Confidence Survey found that 1/3 of workers who ran the numbers believe they need at least $1.5 million to retire. But 1/3 of the same cohort has under $50,000 saved today, and 14% hold under $1,000. Northwestern Mutual's Planning and Progress study in 2024 echoes this mismatch. The magic number jumped up to 1.46 million, up 54% since 2020, even as average personal retirement savings slid to $88,400. We've been talking a lot about employee savers. These are the people that work for somebody else, the business owners. But how do the business owners, these entrepreneurs, play into this magic group number of 1.5 million saved for retirement? Well, the Federal Reserve survey of consumer finance shows that only 14.6% of U.S. families hold equity in privately owned business. But when we zoom in on the households whose 401ks, IRAs, and similar accounts top 1.5 million, outside researchers use the same 2022 micro data that was published in this 2024 Center for Retirement Research brief. And they find that roughly 1/3 or 34% are self-employed or own closely held business, more than double the national rate. So why the outperformance for these business owners? Well, there's solo 401ks, SEP IRAs, and cash balance pension plans let the owners wear two hats, basically as the employee and the employer, pushing the 2025 contribution ceilings to over $76,500 or over $100,000 with a cash balance or an add-on. Owners can time company profits, sheltering unusually high income years. Data from Fidelity's Q1 of 2024 Small Business Retirement Analysis shows SEP, Simple, or Solo 401k. These are the different types of accounts that business owners can have. These savers boast an average balance of $152,000. That's already 21% higher than traditional corporate 401k participants. And although only about 30% of these small firms currently offer a plan, participants who do have access are accumulating faster and are disproportionately represented amongst Fidelity's 962,000 retirement millionaires. Bottom line is, if you meet a saver with a seven-figure, especially a $1.5 million tax-deferred war chest, there's a 1 in 3 chance they built it while signing their own paycheck as a business owner. So what do these people do differently that have this $1.5 million already? Well, they automate savings regularly to 15% or more early on. 72% of Vanguard plans now default new hires into automatic enrollment, and 2/3 of those also default into an auto escalation, basically adding more and more each year. Of these investors, 90% stay invested in index funds. They're passive, low-fee funds that capture 92% of net inflows among 401k millionaires in 2024. Another thing these retirement millionaires have in common is they ignore the noise. Fidelity's records show that the median millionaire executed 0 trades in 2024, despite double-digit market swings. They also max out their employer match and then some. Fidelity notes that 8 of 10 workers receive a match or profit share, but millionaires typically capture the full match plus catch-up contributions after age 50. They also leverage tax diversification. Among the 1.5 million plus savers, about 35% keep a Roth bucket. That mix lets them manage taxes in retirement, especially when required minimum distributions, or RMDs, start to kick in at around age 75 under that Secure 2.0 Act. They also like to avoid leakage. Millionaires rarely take loans or hardship withdrawals. Vanguard data shows loan usage at just 3% of accounts with balances over $1 million versus a 14% for accounts that are below $100,000. Here's some key takeaways and your call to action. Roughly 1 million Americans already sit at least 1.5 million in dedicated retirement savings. They represent approximately 1% of households, but their habits, start early, save 15%, and stay invested, are reproducible habits. The aspiration gap is real. Surveys say we want 1.5 million, but average savings sits at about 90,000. Your next step is to increase your savings by 1% today. Schedule automatic annual increases and explore Roth contributions for tax flexibility. If you run even a side hustle with some income, explore a solo 401k or a SEP retirement account. If you learned something valuable, click that like button, subscribe for more data-driven personal finance content, and share this video with a friend who's chasing financial freedom just like you. If you're interested more about Roth IRA accounts, you might want to watch one of these 2 videos next. Until next time, appreciate you stopping by and watching. Have a great day.